Welcome back. Hope everyone is doing well. Welcome back to the Aggada Shiur. This week I want to do something different. I want to do something that is going to probably carry over for 2 or 3 weeks, and that is to learn the Gemaras that have to do with the Churban Beis Hamikdash, that have to do with the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Why is it so important? Well, obviously, this Thursday and 3 days from now, sorry, this is a Monday, we are going to be celebrating or commemorating Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, the 17th day of Tammuz, when the walls of Yerushalayim were breached. We know that the walls of the first temple's destruction were breached on the 9th of Tammuz, but we only have we don't fast the 9th and the 17th. We fast the 17th, which commemorates both of the walls being breached of both of the Batei Mikdash, and that ushers in the 3-week period called Bein HaMitzarim, which concludes with Tisha B'Av on the 9th day of Av, exactly 3 weeks later. And this is the saddest, the most depressing time in the Jewish year. And there is a halacha on Tisha B'Av. There is a halacha that is consistent with the laws of Avelos, the laws of mourning, and we're not allowed to learn Torah. The Shulchan Aruch paskins that we are the Aser in Perek and Simon Taf Kuf Nun Dalid. The Aser Likros Batorah. A person is not allowed to read the Torah, just to read the Psukim. Batorah Neviim Uksuvim, any of Tanakh, any of the written Torah. The Lishnos b'Mishnah u'b'Midrash u'b'Gemara, and a person is not allowed to learn Mishnah or Medrash or Gemara. B'Halachos u'b'Agados. Neither are they allowed to learn halacha or Aggada stories. Why? Why can't we learn Torah? This is an important yesod to know. Mishum shenemar, because the pasuk says, "Bikudei Hashem yeshari misam chelev." Says that the words of Torah are misam chelev. They gladden the heart. They get us excited. They pump us up. We enjoy learning Torah. The experience of Talmud Torah is, at its very core, enjoyable and awesome, and we love to do it. It's delicious to learn Torah. So it's also to learn Torah on the saddest day of the year. You can't have excitement of learning Torah, and you can't couple that with the sadness and the tragedy and the mourning of a day of Tisha B'Av. But then the Shulchan Aruch gives exceptions. What am I allowed to learn? So the Shulchan Aruch writes, Aval Karihu be'Iyov. Right, I can learn the book of Job, the book of Eov. I can look parts of Nehemiah and parts of Yirmiyah and Yirmiyahu that deals with the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. And the Mishnah Berurah writes on the comment of that we're also allowed to learn Eicha. Right, obviously we're allowed to read Eicha, but you're also allowed to learn Eicha in depth. V'chein, and similarly, Agadas HaChurban bePerek HaNizakin. You're also allowed to learn the stories of the Churban, of the destruction of the temple, in HaNizakin, in the Perek called HaNizakin, which is in Maseches Gittin, which you see on your source sheet. Amazingly, Rav Tzadok HaKohen of Lublin, Rav Tzadok was a great Jewish thinker, a Hasidic, I think he's a Rebbe, Mechaber. He's an author of many, many Svarim. He writes an amazing thing. He thinks that, he writes that every Aggada, every story, or every halacha that is in a particular Masechet in Shas is there for a specific reason, and there is obviously, if I'm learning Maseches Pesachim, so all the halachos of Pesach are going to fall into that Masechet. But what about there are other stories that are in Pesachim that are not directly related to Maseches Pesachim? Why is that? So Tzaddik says every time that happens, there is a connection. So first of all, we have the Churban. So why is the Churban in Gittin? We know Maseches Gittin is about divorce. And the Churban, the destruction of the temple, was a sign of a split, of a cessation, of a separation between Hakadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. And then he writes that it's also in Perek HaNizakin. Nizakin means to damage. The ultimate damage to the Jewish people was the Churban Beis Hamikdash, was the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. So let's learn the major story, the most well-known story, and we're going to do this over the next 2 or 3 weeks. The Gemara on the bottom of Daf Nun Hey Amud Beis reads as follows: Akamtza uvar kamtza charuv Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim was destroyed because, as a result of an incident involving two different people. Kamtza was the name of one person, uvar kamtza, and the other person in the story is Bar Kamtza. Kamtza, because of Kamtza and Bar Kamtza, Charuv Yerushalayim is destroyed. Now the Gemara is going to tell us actually an amazing idea. The idea is that it's not going to say, the reason of the destruction was because the Romans were horrible and the enemy is despicable and they're cruel and they're the worst people ever. That's not what the Gemara is going to say. The Gemara is going to tell us stories of individuals that, because of their actions and the way they live their lives and things that went through, that ultimately led to the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, which I think is an amazing thing. Meaning Judaism believes, right? We believe there's cruelty in the world and we have enemies and anti-Semitism is real. But ultimately we believe, and this is how we have to approach life, that when bad things happen, it means that we have to, we're going to say in Eicha, nach besad derachenu v'nach kora, that we have to look at ourselves and the outside influences won't have any negative effect on us if we do our jobs. I once heard, I actually remember where I heard this Devar Torah. I was running on the boardwalk in Santa Barbara. My wife and I were on vacation, and I was listening to a shiur while I was running. And Rashi tells us there are two major stories of Amalek destroying, of attacking the Jewish people. One at the very end of Parshas Beshalach, and then that same story is reviewed. There's a chazara of that story at the very end of Parshas Kiteitzei. That's what we read on Parshas Zachor, Shabbos Zachor, the Shabbos right before Purim. Now Rashi tells us, so Amalek comes. Rashi tells us that in Beshalach he gives us a different reason than he gives in Parshas Kiteitzei. Why does Amalek attack the Jewish people? Why does Rashi say? According to Rashi in Parshas Beshalach, he says why? Because we forgot about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He gives a mashal. He says that it's like a kid who's walking on his father's shoulders, and his father is like protecting him because his father is doing a chesed for him, and he doesn't want him to get bitten or attacked by snakes or scorpions or whatever, right? So he lifts him up, he puts him on his shoulders, and he's taking care of him. And he's walking and walking and walking and walking. And over time, the kid then sees another passerby, another person, right, coming, and he stops the person who he sees. He says, "Have you seen my father?" And all of a sudden, the father looks up and hears him and throws him off and says, "Oh, you forget about me? I'm going to make you remember that I'm here and that I'm protecting you." Right? That's the reason that he offers for Amalek. We forgot about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's Beshalach. Then in Parshas Kiteitzei, what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu say? That you know what? No, Amalek came. And they're despicable, cruel, horrible people, and they destroyed. They came to attack the weak, and they came to attack the women and the infirm and the children, and ultimately that's what it means. It's a din in them. So yeah, we can look at anti-Semitism and we can look at bad things that happen to the good people, to the Jewish people in two ways. Either it's all them; they're horrible, they're despicable, they're cruel and bad in every which way. Or we could say, you know what? There is bad in the world, but all I can do is I can control in my actions, right? Maybe it would be that, yeah, Amalek by definition is horrible. But if I wouldn't have forgotten about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so they wouldn't have attacked. And we see this in the Gemara. The Gemara is going to constantly say stories of individuals and people who brought about the Khurban. The Romans and the Babylonians and other people wanted to destroy the Batei Mikdash, right? But they were only really allowed to because our actions were not where they were supposed to be. Kamtza bar Kamtza charuv Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim was destroyed because of the story between Kamtza and Bar Kamtza. The whole Gavra, there was a man. Okay, so now that's our third person in the story. The Rachmi Kamtze uval devave Bar Kamtza, who had a friend named Kamtza and an enemy named Bar Kamtza. The Maharsha is of the opinion that Kamtza and Bar Kamtza are a father and a son. But here we have Kamtza and Bar Kamtza. Okay, so this man had a friend named Kamtza and an enemy named Bar Kamtza. Avad Seudasa. He made a party, he made a meal, he made a banquet. Amar le l'shame. He tells this rich man, tells his worker, his attendant, right? Zil aizi le Kamtza. Go and bring Kamtza to my party. Go and invite Kamtza to my party. Azil aitile bar Kamtza. When he made a mistake, the attendant, the shliach, makes a mistake and he invites Bar Kamtza, the enemy of this wealthy party making man, right? And he invites Bar Kamtza instead. Asa Ashkechei Dehava Yosef. When the host arrived at the party, who did he see? He saw that Bar Kamtza was Yosef. Bar Kamtza was sitting there. Amar Le, he got very angry. Amar Le, Michlehu Gavra Bal Devavahu Gavru. Right? He says here, this man is the enemy of the person that I wanted invited. My boy say, how did you get here? Kum puk, get out of here. So the Gavra, the man whose party is, he sees Bar Kamtza, he hates Bar Kamtza so much, he kicks him out of the party. Hoel v'asei shavkan. He says, no. Bar Kamtza says, whoa, let's not make a scene. Right? He doesn't want to be embarrassed so much. So Hoel va'isi, since I already came to the party, Shavka, let me stay here. Let me stay. The Yahavna, it doesn't just say, oh, you know what, just be a nice guy and let me stay. Right? He says, the Yahavdi loch dami mai the achilna v'shasina. And you know what? Whatever I eat and drink, I'm going to have 2 hamburgers, I'm going to take from this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to take from the fruit man, whatever it is, I'll pay for whatever I eat. You don't have to worry about me. I'm going to pay for what I eat. Amar Le, the host says back to Bar Kamtza, lo, says, no, that's not good. I'm not okay with that. Amar Le, Bar Kamtza then says back to him, I'm going to give you palga. I'm going to give you half of the whole party. The whole party costs you $20,000. I will write you a check for $10,000. Amar Le, the host says to Bar Kamtza, who he hates, his enemy. Lo, first of all, amazing thing. You have 2 Jews and they have an enemy, right? There could be people I don't love. There could be people I don't like. There are people that I can't stand, that I'm frustrated with. To mamash have an enemy. To mamash have an enemy amongst the Jewish people in your community. That's already a heartbreaking thing to read. So he offers him what he's going to eat. No, offers him half, right? Let's say we'll call it $10,000. He says no. This Amar Le Yahav Nelach Demei Kules. I'll pay for the entire party. Everything is on me. Amar Le Lo says no. Doesn't take it at all. Nakde biyade v'ukme v'apke. So what does he do? Bar Kamtza grabs hold of Bar Kamtza, the guy, the host, and he kicks him out. He says, get out of here. Bar Kamtza says to himself, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to get even. Now, obviously, this was a chashuv party. We just know this from this line. This was an important party. This was an important gathering, because he said that the rabbis were there, the leaders, the rabbinical leaders of the community were there, and v'havu yasve, they were sitting there. Remember, we've spoken about how the Aramaic tuf, is a Hebrew shin. So the Yatve is Yashve. The rabbis were sitting there. V'lo machube. They didn't protest. They just said, okay, there's a fight between 2 Jews. This is really disgusting. This is really ugly. And they sat, they sat on their hands. They didn't rebuke. They didn't stop it. They didn't come to anybody's assistance, try to make shalom, try to make compromise. Shmamina kanichaluhu. It's okay with them. Meaning, if they're not saying anything, shtika kehoda, right? It's a principle in Gemara, shtika kehoda. If I'm quiet, I agree. Right? I don't say anything unless I speak out against the injustice. If I'm quiet, it shows that I agree. Okay, right? Like the bystander. The bystander. If you're an innocent bystander, there's no such thing really as an innocent bystander, right? In halacha, we don't really believe in that. Right? Because if you're a bystander and you don't do anything, then no, you should be held liable to a certain extent. You see bullying, you see people doing things that they shouldn't. Shemami no kaniche. So he says, Bar Kamtza says to himself, it must be that the rabbis are okay with the way that this unnamed host is acting. Aizil ve'eichel b'chu kurza be'malkas. You know what? I'm going to, now this is obviously not the way to deal with problems, okay? But he says, I'm gonna ultimately slander them. I'm gonna tell her to talk against the rabbis, right, in the royal palace, okay? Be Malka, in the home of the Melech, right? In the Caesar's house. I'm gonna basically slander them, be malishing them, talk badly about the rabbis in the house of the Caesar to the Caesar. So also Amar Leila Caesar. He goes and he tells the Caesar, Mardu Bach Yehudai, the Jews, the Yehudim, right, are rebelling against you. Amar Le, Caesar says back to Bar Kamtza, Mi Yema, how do you know this? Amar Le, Bar Kamtza says back to Caesar, Shadar Le Korbana. You know what? Let's see, we'll show a test. Give me a korban. Shadar Le Korbana, Chazi Mikravi Le, and you'll see whether the Jews, who I think are rebelling against you, whether they're going to really offer up your your korban that you're giving. Chazis imikarvin le. Let's go see if they're going to really offer it up in their temple. Azil shader biyade eglot lasa. So the Caesar goes, he finds a calf, right? And he gives the calf, he gives this egla, like an egla arufa or a chita egel, a small calf, and he gives it now to Kamtza. I think someone here says that one of the Mefarshim says, why was it an egel? Because every avera that the Jewish people do and every punishment that comes has some connection to the Cheta Egel. So he comes, he says, let's go see if the Jews are going to offer it. And now, as he was going, now it has to be that it was an Ola. Very, very interesting and very beautiful. The halacha is that a non-Jew, right, we say that the Beis HaMikdash would accept karbanos and would accept tfilos from Jew and non-Jew. Ki beisi l'chol ha'amim, right? It's a beit tefillah l'chol ha'amim. We say that on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Seres Yemei Tshuva. We say the line that the Beis HaMikdash, my house, is a house of prayer for all people. Doesn't mean that it doesn't only mean prayer, but also means karbanos. But there was only one type of karban that a non-Jew, that a goy is allowed to bring, and that's a karban ola. What's unique about a karban ola? Ola means to go up, meaning the entire animal was burnt. It doesn't mean that not every single part of the animal was burnt, but the person or the Kohen was not able to eat from the karban at all. It was all for God, right? And many of the Mefarshim, it might be the Gra who writes, or maybe someone else, but the idea is that our hashkafa sachayim, the way a Jew lives life, is that we engage in the physical, we engage in gashmias, we engage in the material parts of the world, but our job is to sanctify them, is to be mekadesh, to sanctify the regular mekadesh the chol. That's what we do on Shabbos, right? We are mekadesh the regular week. We say this is a day. Now we're going to sanctify it, and that's what we do in Havdalah. Now, right? He's mavdil ben kodesh lechol. He makes a separation, a distinction between kodesh and chol. But the non-Jews know. The non-Jews say no. The holiest thing is to really not engage in materialism, in gashmios, in the physical enjoyments of the world. So this korban that the Caesar is giving is going to ultimately be a korban, is going to be a korban ola. But all korbanos, that if there is a mum, if there is some type of blemish, a cut or a bruise or something on the animal, no, it can't be. It's not going to be allowed to be offered onto the Mizbeach, and it's going to be unacceptable. So what happens? Caesar gives Bar Kamtza this animal, this egla, and when he goes, he makes Shada Be Umuma Beniv Sfasayim. Bar Kamtza causes a blemish in the Niv Sfasayim, in the upper lip of the animal. And some say that no, it was really that he did something in the eye. Bedukin sheba'ayin. Some say now, why dafka the mouth and why dafka the eye? Because ultimately, here the story of the Jewish people we're being destroyed. It's the whole our history, and the Beis HaMikdash is going to ultimately dissolve. Why? Because of the way we speak. Right, with the lashon hara, that's ultimately what's going on. Bar Kamtza is going and he's being malshin. He's speaking badly, speaking negatively about the rabbis and about our ayin. When a person is negative, a person is broken, all they see is negativity. This Pei Shabbos we read Parshas Balak, right? Balak is described as having an ayin ra'ah. First of all, he's described in the Torah as a shesum ayin, almost like having a blind eye, right? But also in Pirkei Avos, he's described as having an ayin ra, some type of negative sight, always seeing maybe pessimism or no hope in anything like that. So the machlokas, where exactly, but the Mefarshim talk about that the machlokas about where Bar Kamtza placed the blemish has meaning for has underlying meanings and deeper meanings towards where towards the story. Fine. And it was a place where it would not be considered a blemish for Jews, right? But it would be considered a blemish for non-Jews. Meaning, if a non-Jew came with this animal and it had a little bit of a cup in Nivs Vasayim, right? So there was almost a higher level of of perfection or cleanliness or wholesomeness in the animal of a non-Jew. If a non-Jew wanted to bring a korban, than a Jew, meaning we're a little bit more lenient in terms of mumin, in terms of blemishes for a Jew as opposed to a non-Jew. I'm not sure about the reason. The reason could be that Jews were offering animals so much more often, so maybe we had to lower the level. But don't write that down. But to the non-Jews, to us, it would have been, but to them it would not have been. So the rabbis considered, okay, we have this animal, and they knew it was coming from the Caesar. So now he comes and he brings it to the Beis Hamikdash. The rabbis considered offering it. They said, you know what? It's not really kosher for him to bring it, but it's the Caesar. Like, it's not a smart move, right? Bad things could happen if we tell the Caesar, no, your animal isn't good enough. So the rabbis are ready to offer this animal on the altar in the Beis Hamikdash. Amarle, Rabbi Zechariah ben Avkulas. Rabbi Zechariah ben Avkulas stands up and he says, Yomru bali mumin krevim legabi mizbeach. He's going to say, whoa. He's going to say, whoa, this is crazy. The world is going to now know that bali mumin, that animals that have a mum, that have blemishes, are able to be offered on the mizbeach in the Beis Hamikdash and saver lemigdalei, and the rabbis. So you have this machlokas between the rabbis and Rabbi Zechariah ben Avkulas. There's Zechariah ben Avkulas. We got to be from, because what's going to happen, right? It's going to lead to something else. People are going to say that now, that the non-Jews are going to think that they could always offer animals of a more compromised level. So what happened? The rabbis are getting scared. The rabbis are like, well, this is not going to end well. Savr lemigdalei. So the rabbis considered killing Bar Kamtza for what he was potentially doing, and we'll see that he did. Delot lazil velema, so that he wouldn't be able to go back and tell the Caesar, look what I thought, I was right. These Jews are rebelling, and they're not going to bring your karbanos. Amar lahu Rabbi Zechariah. Rabbi Zechariah says, Yomru meitil mum bekachi meharig. Then people are going to say, right, he's very firm. Then people are going to say that what? That a person who blemishes, a person who causes the mum in an animal is also put to death, and that's also a distortion of the halacha. So there is obviously Rabbi Zechariah ben Avkulas is protecting the sanctity and he's protecting the Torah. That's what he's not trying to cause any craziness, but he's trying to protect the sanctity of the Torah's laws. But there is this machlokas between the rabbis and Rabbi Zechariah ben Avkulas. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan then says, on Yusan Shal Rabbi Zechariah ben Avkulas, the humility of Rabbi Zechariah ben Avkulas, Echriva es beisenu, has destroyed our home, has destroyed our temple. V'sarfa es heichalenu, it's burnt down our heichal, it's burnt down our Beis Hamikdash. V'higlisanu me'artzeinu, and he's exiled our land. That basically the anava, the humility of Rabbi Zechariah ben Avkulas has caused the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, has burnt down the Beis Hamikdash, and ultimately has kicked us out of the land. The Vilna Gaon says that, what does it mean that it was his anivus, right? What does it mean that it was his anivus? So he stood up. He stood up. He said what he believed. It doesn't sound like he's so humble. So there is a halacha, and it's for a good reason. The Gemara in Sanhedrin tells us that when there was an order, a specific order of all the dayanim, all the judges in the Sanhedrin, when they would need to give up psak, right? So it would go from the youngest or the least knowledgeable to the most knowledgeable, right? Why? Because let's say you ask three rabbis a question. Rav Shechter says, it's on a bracha. Rav Shechter says, you make a mizunos. Who's going to disagree with Rav Shechter, right? If he clearly outclasses the other two people, you can't go. If you want to have a real debate, you have to go by the person who knows least and up. The Gura explains that Rabbi Zechariah ben Avkulas, he didn't see himself as this major Torah giant. He should have gone last. And ultimately, then no one, right, the rabbis said what they said, okay? But he had misplaced humility because he didn't realize that his opinion was going to carry as much weight as it did. And ultimately, because of this, because he wouldn't renege on his opinion, because he because he said, you know what, we can't let perhaps a misrepresentation of the Torah's halacha get to us. It's gonna negatively affect the Jewish people. So we are going to have to be strong there. And what happens? What happens? But that is the story. That is the story up until now. So let's resume the story right now. Shadar ilaveyu l'niron Caesar. So he sends against them, right? He sends the Caesar. He sends the Nero, the Caesar, to go and attack Yerushalayim. Kikaasi, as he approaches Yerushalayim, Shada gira l'mizrach asanafa b'Yerushalayim. So Caesar, he shoots an arrow towards the east, and it falls on Yerushalayim. L'ma'arav asanafa b'Yerushalayim. He shoots one to the west, and also the arrow goes onto Yerushalayim. La'arba ruchos t'shamayim, to all four directions. Asa, he shoots it, and all times, nafal b'Yerushalayim. Amar le'leinuka. Then he goes and he asks a young boy, Psukli psukech, tell me, what pasuk did you learn in yeshiva today, in the cheder today? Amar le v'nasati esnigmasi be'edom biyad ami Yisrael. What pasuk did we learn? Oh, we learned the pasuk. We learned the pasuk in Yechezkel that says, I, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, will take my revenge against Edom through the people of Israel. I mean, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is ultimately going to punish Edom for the way they treated the Jewish people. Amar, kud shabrichuhu boy lecharivese. So he says to himself, Caesar says to himself that what? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to destroy the Beis HaMikdash. Uvay lechapuri yadei b'hal gavra. And he wants to wipe his hands clean of him. Arak va'azov v'igayir. So he ran away and he converted to Yerushalayim. V'nafak minei Rabbi Meir, and Rabbi Meir becomes Rabbi Meir, who is quoted all over the Talmud, and Rabbi Meir, who very often, when an opinion is not said, highlighted as to who is the author of that Mishnah, it is Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir is one of the greatest of all of the Tanaim. So Rabbi Meir is one who comes from who comes from him. So we are going to continue next week, but we are right here near the top of Nun Vav Amud Aleph. We're going to continue as we're preparing our way to Tisha B'Av and the 3 weeks. Have a great week.